If you ever try to animate high poly tree, you know that it loads your system to its limit. Here I have one tree at 4 million polygons and my FPS dropped to around 10 when I use simple deform to animate it. And if you want to have multiple instances of this tree, they will have the exact same animation. Or you will have to add a copy instead of instance and it will add another 4 million polygons to your scene, which is not sustainable at all. But what if I tell you that I have this scene with many different instances of this tree and each of them has its own animation and it still calculates in real time, not dropping below 60 FPS in the viewport? How did I do that? Let's get into it. First, if you have just a single tree that is not that high in poly count, you can totally just use simple deform modifier. Nothing wrong with that, just set it to bend and add keyframes to the angle. Second, if you have some simple geometry that is not that big, like bushes or sapling, you can use geometry nodes with 4D noise moving on W and on some other axis to create the illusion of wind. Make sure that the very bottom of the object is not deforming, using Z position as strength coefficient. It's nice and reasonably efficient for that type of geometry. For the geometry with a lot of instances, like grass, you just rotate the instances with noise to create the wind effect. Grass doesn't deform and just rotates to save the resources. But what about this tall, high poly tree that will be in the center of your scene? It has 4 million polygons. We can't afford real deformation. And we can't really use that geometry node setup, it's way too slow. We add an armature and extrude it roughly in the shape of the tree. Just a simple shape, not too much. And now, do not try to press Ctrl P with automatic weights. Your computer will probably freeze. Mine did. We will not be using weights. It's too heavy because it's actually deforming the geometry. With the main stem, it's pretty low poly, so you can probably just use with automatic weights for it. Now comes the most important and the most annoying part. We go into edit mode and select the first section, and press P selection to separate it into a different object. In the pose mode of our armature, select the bone for this section. Go back into object mode, select the leaves first, and then with Shift, select the skeleton. Now press Ctrl P, bone. What we did here is directly parented the object to the bone. It's not like when the character is moving using bones. What we did here doesn't deform the tree, it's just setting the bone as parent for this section of the tree. And now that section of the tree is gonna be moving, rotating and scaling with that bone, which basically doesn't give any extra load to the system. Now we just do it again, select the section of the tree for the next bone, parent it, select the next section of the tree, parent it to the next bone, and so on, until you are done with the whole tree. Now look at this. We can animate it, and if we play it back, our FPS doesn't drop at all. To have multiple trees, select everything, Alt-D to instance it, and now that armature is an instance, so the animation is gonna be the same and we can't change it. To be able to change the animation of each of those copies, select just the armature, go into search, type make single user to make it not instance. Checkmark object, object data, object animation, and press make single. Now you can make a separate animation for this armature. I've spent a bit of time to have a bunch of trees with independent animation. Here I have 10 tree instances, original being 4 million polygons. Each of them has a different animation, and playback in viewport is still holding at a stable 60 frames per second. You can totally stop here, just put some effort into animating the trees, you can probably get some amazing results. But to automate it and add a bit of fun factor, you can use Spring Bones add-on. I think the original developer has stopped the support of the add-on, but it was later revived by someone else. This is the version of the add-on that I use right now. Download it, install it. When you are in the pose mode, you should get an extra menu in the end panel of your viewport. Select all of the bones except for the root one, and with Alt button pressed, input the values that I show. Checkmark spring and fixed position. Set stiffness to 0.4, dampening to 0.5, gravity to 0.25, and make sure that is collider and should collide are not checkmarked. Now, if you held down the Alt button when you were inputting those values should be applied to all of the bones. You can just make sure that the values are the same on all of them. Then start in animation mode and let the animation play back. With the root bone animated, your bones should look like they sway in aggressive or mild wind, depending on how you animated the root bone. It will probably go a little crazy at the very start, but will just not render the first 50 frames of the animation to fix it. Now, if you like the animation and want to bake it into the bones, just press stop, then start again in animation mode to reset the physics, and press bake to action. And you can see we are getting a bunch of keyframes on the timeline. Here I forgot to turn off the spring bones simulation, so I am getting the simulation on top of already baked animation, and it's a little crazy. Once I press stop button, I am left with just the physics baked into keyframes, so I can again smooth it and overall just modify the animation. I'm gonna add a bunch of motion blur to emphasize the effect and render it out. I'm really happy with that effect and grateful for that add-on. It really feels like wind and not just hand animated animation. Now if you have enough patience, nothing is stopping you from animating your own forest and having basically zero performance penalty. Good luck with creating, and tag me on Instagram if you make something. I would love to see what you make.